Hello, it's Stephanie here. Here's a beginner's guide to using your sewing machine. Maybe it's been in a corner for a while and it's time to get it out again and get sewing. I'm going to use this machine as my demonstration. It's a mechanical sewing machine and it's a good one to look at. Here's the business end. It's where the needle and the presser foot are. We'll talk about these a lot and we'll see this a lot in this video. My machine has lots of different stitches, but I mostly use a straight stitch or a zigzag. On my machine that's a number 2 or a number 6, and I simply turn the dial to find my stitch. Here's the top of my machine where the thread lives, and also I'm showing you where the bobbin will go when we wind the bobbin. I'll show you that in a bit. I've got a stitch length dial. The larger the number, the longer the stitch, and these are in millimetres. And finally, the final dial that I have is a tension disc dial. I very, very rarely move this. And here's a quick little video of how I put the presser foot up and down. Your lever might be in a different place, so have a look for it. So just before we wind our bobbin up, I'm going to show you the foot pedal, which will, from here on in the video, be on the floor. And every time you see the machine working, it's because I'm pushing my foot onto the foot pedal. I've actually switched my machine off to keep my fingers safe whilst I'm doing some of these jobs. Now here's my bobbin. It's a plastic one for this particular machine, and please only use the bobbins that are specific for your machine. Quite simply, I'm going to put my thread in the top of my machine, put it around the tensioner at the top, and then there's a teeny tiny hole in the plastic bobbin. I'm going to try and thread my thread through it. You can see I'm having difficulty, so instead of licking it, which is tempting, just use scissors to chop off the end, and then it will go through better. I'm going to pop it on top in the specific place for winding the bobbin. Yours might be in a different place, but it'll be very similar. I push it to the right hand side, and I've actually pulled out my hand wheel. That's specific to Janome and some John Lewis machines, but please do read your manual to find out what you need to do. The reason that I've pulled out the hand wheel is that stops the needle going up and down as and when I'm winding the bobbin. Here's a top shot just so you can see, because the video is a bit far away. And when the bobbin has finished winding, the machine will either automatically stop or mine just slows down. Just keep an eye on it and then cut your threads and you're ready for the bobbin. Now then, threading a sewing machine, they've usually always got these arrows, and all machines are slightly different, but they all thread in exactly the same way. It's basically a down, up, down kind of movement. So I've put my thread down the little gap between the tension discs. I've had to alter my hand wheel just to get the little metal piece up, and then there are little places to catch the thread so it's close to the needle, and then thread your needle. I'll show you close up here. The last bit is putting your bobbin and your top thread together. So the bobbin goes in. I've got a top loading machine here. I will in a moment show you a front loading machine as well, and they seem to be the main two types. Hold your thread out to the left hand side and turning your hand wheel towards you, that will put the needle down and up, and simply pull and up comes the thread. I find that this doesn't always work straight away, so just try it again, but it's about having the thread out to the left. I've just swapped machines for this little bit of video, so this is actually a John Lewis version, but it's very similar. And you can see there's a little handle on the bobbin case, and that will actually hold the bobbin in. That's where you'll find it. But I'll show you how to put it back in, because you might find you haven't got one in there. So introduce your bobbin into the bobbin case, and then there's a little tiny slit you need to pull it through, and do pull till you hear the click. And then the little handle is so that the bobbin won't shift around, and it goes kind of in an upright position, and it slots in very nicely. So however you get your bobbin in, the way in which you pick up the thread is just as we've seen before. This is just from a different angle, and then you'll be ready to get sewing. What you might find is either if your needle has broken, or if you can't remember the last time you did some sewing, please just change the needle. You might as well. Even the most expensive needles that I've found only cost about 80 pence per needle. So in the scheme of your entire sewing project, it's not very much. Now the needle clamp has a tightening screw, which I'm just going to loosen using a screwdriver. Make sure you hold on to the needle so it doesn't fall into your machine. And if you look at the needle, you'll see it's got a flat edge. And you'll see they come in different sizes. I tend to use an 80 or a 90 for most things, but definitely use a fatter needle for a thicker fabric. So I would use a 90 for denim. That's the largest diameter needle there. So to put a new needle in, push it up. Mine has the flat edge going at the back, but just check your sewing machine manual. It might go somewhere different, and tighten it up with your screwdriver. If you did want to change your presser foot, because maybe you had a different project to do, maybe you would want, well, this is a zip foot, maybe you want to input a zip. It's got a smaller bit at the front, so it's a good design. This amazing thing is a buttonhole foot, so if you wanted to do buttonholes, this would allow it to happen. So if you did want to change it, you just push a little button at the back. I'll show you what the button looks like. And then your presser foot comes off. To put a new presser foot back on, you simply lower the presser foot with a lever at the back and it clips on. So these are very, very straightforward. Occasionally what you will find is that you have a type of sewing machine foot that doesn't just clip on, and in which case use your screwdriver, loosen off that ankle screw, put that somewhere really, really safe, and then put on your new attachment. You might have a ruffler foot, or this one is a free motion embroidery foot, and I always just tighten up with a screwdriver, and then your new presser foot is on. So I'll just show you the feed dogs of the machine, because they're often talked about, but they're difficult to know what they are. There are 3 little portions I'm pointing to with my scissors that as I turn my hand wheel, meaning when it does a stitch, they are going up and down, and they're actually pulling the fabric through the machine. And that's why you don't have to push or pull or tug when you do any sewing. But sometimes we want to switch those off. Now, your feed dog switch off place might be in a different place to mine, but mine is at the back where I'm showing you. If for any reason you can't switch off your feed dogs and you do want to do free motion embroidery, just turn your stitch length down to 0. Now we're going to do some straight stitch sewing, so I've put back my ordinary foot. I'm going to select the straight stitch, which is number 2 on my machine. It might be a different number on your machine. And I'm going to alter the stitch length. I'm going to keep it at 2.5mm, that looks about right. And then all you need to do is get some fabric. I'm using a scrap piece of denim. I like to recycle my jeans as and when they're finished. Put the presser foot down, and really please be careful of your fingers, and simply put your foot on your foot pedal and stitch away. Please, please keep your fingers out of the way. When you get to a corner, put your needle in the down position. I just use the hand wheel to turn it there. Always put the hand wheel towards you. Lift up your presser foot, pivot around, and off you go. It's really quite straightforward to start sewing. Now finally, this is kind of the boring bit, but it's really essential. Lots of people don't clean their sewing machine from one year to the other, and it's really quite straightforward. On this machine, I have to use my screwdriver again and take this screw out. I've shown it to you because please, please, please have a plate next to you and put it in a plate. I'm basically just taking everything off so it's easy to get to. And I do actually clean my machine quite regularly, so mine isn't actually very dirty. I haven't got much dust to show you. But if you have any mystery noises coming out of your machine when you sew, then it might be because it's got too much lint in here, and the lint isn't because you're a bad keeper, it's because the fabric that you've used before has created some lint. And then simply put it back together again. The biggest worry, I think, when we take machines apart is that we might not remember which order it goes back in. So hopefully this video is of some help. Well, that's it with the bobbin back in. I'd like to say thank you very much for watching this video, and now it's your time to sew.